Our next guest brings a critical personal perspective. It's so important because we're not just talking about statistics here, right? We're talking about individuals and their stories. Global Youth Coalition on Road Safety, SDG champion on health, Dr. Rim El Sherbiny is turning the tide against road traffic crashes, which are the leading killer of youth globally. Reem, the floor is yours. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. So I'm here to share my personal story about road crash. So in my last year of training at the hospital at medical school, I experienced an incident that changed my life. Back in 2020, I ordered a car service. It was 7 p.m. when we were on a bridge, and suddenly a car appeared from the opposite direction, driving recklessly in reverse with excessive speed, and propelled onto a bump on the poorly maintained bridge. Then it fell on the car I was inside. So our car stopped suddenly, and the force unleashed like a chain reaction, causing the car behind us to collide with ours too. In the aftermath of the tragic crash, two lives were lost, the driver with me and the individual responsible for the collision, plus property damage to three vehicles, plus four families had to continue their lives with many, many unseen struggles. I had facial plastic surgery, leaving a scar on my forehead, and additionally, I required two operations, one to place plates and screws in my right arm, and another to stabilize my pelvis. And for 5 months, I relied on a wheelchair, and it took like a further few months of physiotherapy and leaning on crutches to regain my full range of movement. It was a journey that spanned 6 to 7 months, filled with physical and emotional challenges, of course. And I remember going to university for two exams in an ambulance car and a wheelchair because I was prohibited from sitting in a car. And we tried to ask the university to let me take the exam on the ground floor, but it was almost impossible. So the ambulance man, with the help of my mom and sister, had to hold me with the wheelchair on the stairs to reach the third floor. And it was only 1 year after this incident that I realized that I needed some psychological support because I was so nervous whenever I was on a bridge, and I felt so anxious when someone asked me about my facial scar. Because, yes, there are long term effects that remain forever. And like many other, I too believed that my responsible driving habits would protect me from such crashes. But the reality is that crashes can happen to anyone at any time and regardless of their driving behavior, and no one is immune to the consequences of reckless driving and bad infrastructure. This is not only my story, this is the story of 11 million young people who have to endure long term injuries due to road crashes. And when I worked as a general practitioner in the emergency department, I witnessed a huge amount of road crash victims, especially young people, whom I remember very well. For example, a 7-year-old girl who had many operations. She was just walking out of a swimming lesson to get to her car where her mom was waiting for her, and she got hit by a motorcycle just 2 meters away from the car. This made me want to advocate for its safety and want to specialize in pediatrics. And as a young resident doctor, I call on decision makers to give healthcare workers a role in shaping road safety policies to enhance the post crash care. And thank you, everyone, for inviting me to speak at this event and for listening to me.